Ramirez, Warrior of Love. And today in Soul Talk, we're going to have a special guest. His name is Rob Garcia, and he's an Orthodox atheist and a professional pessimist from Texas. He's also a writer, and he have a bachelor's in theater, and he works in IT. And Rob, we're very happy to have you here and in Soul Talks, and this is a very fascinating guest. You're gonna see why as soon as we start talking with him. And not only that, he is my ex-husband. And and I wanted to ask several questions. Let's first focus in his beliefs in atheism, because I believe that point is very important for all of us to understand why people become atheists and what are their beliefs. And many people have also the belief that an atheist person is a bad person, and that's not the case. And I'm going to demonstrate it today. Well, Rob, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And I wanted to ask you, what is atheist? First of all, many people doesn't know. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. An atheist is just quite simply someone who doesn't believe in any gods. Or, I mean, you could take that a little further, and there's different kinds. Some don't believe in any afterlife. Some are just not sure. I think they would be more labeled agnostic, but it would just be, I think, someone who is either never clings to or has let go of the idea of having a religion.
Why Orthodox atheist?
Okay, and that's I kind of use that term sort of jokingly, but the reason being, some people, like I said, are a little on the fence. Some people, they think, oh, well, maybe there is a God, or maybe there's gods, or, depending on your beliefs. Some people leave a little more room for doubt, I suppose. And I don't. I'm pretty firm in my beliefs, and it's a funny term. It doesn't really mean anything. I just use it to mean that I mean what I say.
Well, do you were born atheist? When you're kids, you still believe in Santa Claus, or you still believe in this, or you still in that? When it started, you weren't raised by any religion, right?
Well, okay, so that's a complicated question. I think that depending on the community that you grow up in, there's religion around you, and whether or not your parents or grandparents or whoever directly tries to immerse you in their religion, it's all over the place, and it can be really difficult to get away from the influence of that sort of thing. So, and then my parents weren't particularly religious. I think my mom tried sometimes, but it didn't really take. My grandparents, 3 out of 4 of them were religious, and I think as the generations went on, that proportion just started kind of dwindling. There wasn't a ton of religion growing up in my own family, but like I said, it was everywhere. But I guess kind of looking at it, didn't really like what I saw, and I don't feel that anyone is born religious. I think that that's all influence. I think that if you're born and nobody tells you anything about it, it's just like if nobody told you there was a Santa Claus, you'd never believe in it. Nobody brought it up. And I just think it's that sort of thing.
But then when do you put name to your beliefs? I am an atheist.
Well, think that I guess probably when I was a teenager, I started taking my doubts about religion a little more seriously. And then people ask you to define yourself as you grow up. And so you look for words to describe what you are, or in this case, what you're not. And if somebody asks, well, why don't you believe in this or that? It turns out there's a go-to word that says it, and that's atheist. And so I learned to identify with that.
But it went growing and growing into your beliefs into now, into your in 2021. Or it used to be so strict like it's now in 2021, or it used to be a little bit more open when you were younger?
Excuse me. Open is kind of a weird way to put it. So for myself, open might have meant, am I leaving room for this to be real? Am I wrong? There was probably a good amount of time where, because I was, I think, treated pretty rough by people who were religious, I resented that. I started resenting the whole thing, and so I became a little more abrasive about it. And nowadays, if somebody has a religious belief, I think that's fine. I don't want to change their minds, and I don't want them to necessarily, think the way I do. I'm open in that sense. I'm open to, okay, everybody's different, and let people be who they are. But I'm more closed in my own belief on it.
Well, right now we're talking about religion, but in the beliefs of many of us, like source, universe, the energy, and so forth, or God, whatever you want to call it, for us is the same energy. We are not religious. We don't. Well, personally, in my part, I don't agree with any of the religions in the world, actually, and
Okay.
but I am very spiritual. How is your point of view on that?
Okay. Well, that's a good point. So, like I said, people are different. I want to leave room for that difference. Let them be who they are and conduct themselves the way they will. To me, a lot of it looks the same. And from my point of view, if somebody comes to me with a firm belief system, the other side of that is just, I don't know. I don't think it's for me. And so whatever's there looks kind of the same to me. I know it's different. I know people will discuss it and say, no, what I believe is very different from what they believe, and that's cool. I'm sure it's true. That's fine. I just don't really want to bother with it personally, and I don't hold it against anyone. It's fine.
Okay, I have heard many myths about atheist people, and people they confuse in this area the majority of the beings. In fact, for a while I was Jewish, and the people told me you're atheist. So the people didn't even know what is real, and they get confused whatever pastor or religion tell them it is. So they had it completely wrong. And I would like to talk about the myths about atheists.
Sure.
Like they're bad people. I heard that one so many times.
I'll tell you one thing before we go into any of this. Just like I said, that people who are not atheists they're all different. They're very diverse, and so are atheists. They're not all the same. They're not all bad, but you know what? There probably are some bad ones, just like there's some bad of anything. I don't like to think of myself as being a bad person. I'm not sure anybody does, but To me, it's important to be good.
Something that I learned, when I make a parenthesis in here, living with an atheist for 10 years, was that I came to understand that not necessarily because you go to church, that makes you a good person. Or not necessarily because you don't go to any church or you don't believe even in the creator, the universe, or God, or whatever, it makes you a good or a bad person. In fact, I believe if we have our own compass of our good morals, that's what is going to make you a good person, not a religion or not your beliefs. Am I
I
right?
completely agree. Yes, and absolutely. I think that culture will give you a guideline of what might be a good way to live your life. You're told some very general rules that are pretty good, but then when it gets into the more specifics, it's kind of tricky. But for the most part, if you want to be a good person, you have to define what that is for yourself. And honestly, I've known. Well, hold on a sec.
I have a
Okay, so
I have a question for you. In reality, then, is keeping you being a good person? What it is, your values, or what it is that make you a good person? Because you don't believe in hell,
okay.
you don't believe in a bunch of things that we're gonna be talking about. But what it makes you being a good person?
Okay, well, I'll start by saying that I don't know if I'm a good person. I hope I am. So what I think is that I want to be a good person. I'll tell you that. I want to be, and as many times as I can, I want to succeed in being a good person. And when I fail at being a good person, I feel it and it hurts. So what makes me want to be is, well, I interface with the world. So with other people, with community that I'm in, and I know what I want from other people. And for the most part, I can kind of put my finger on what I think is bad. When somebody does something bad to someone else, I don't want to do that. So I can kind of take cues from that and decide, how do I conduct myself? Because I'm the person on the other side when people are looking at me. How do they want me to act? How do I want them to act? It's pretty similar. I mean, I think. There are differences. Like I said, there's details, for example, to someone, I'm trying to find okay. There's some religious dietary laws in different cultures. I don't think it's bad if somebody eats whatever they want for the most part, except sugar's probably pretty bad, but it doesn't make you bad, like evil. I eat a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't hold it against somebody, but somebody might against me. Might say, "Oh, you eat pork," It's like, yeah, I eat pork. What's wrong with pork? Oh, well, that's not cool. Okay, But if somebody says, "Hey, you just punched that guy in the face," that's not cool. Yeah, it's not cool. I think everybody can agree that's not okay. So, like, there's certain morals that are pretty universal, and so I try to find those, and I try to live accordingly.
Okay, I prefer to leave that in there, in that part.
Right.
I I wanted to ask you, okay, what happened in your beliefs, obviously, when someone died?
Uh, okay. Oh. Oh. It's not fun, and it's not flattering, and it's not hopeful or comforting. I do think that when someone dies, just I'm sorry to say, I just don't really think that there's anything after that for them. I think that that's where your biology ends and your consciousness is tied to your, your brain working, which is kept alive by the rest of your organs. And when all of that stops working in harmony, I just think that it's a stopping point.
And do you believe in life after death?
No.
It is fine. That's respectable because that's your beliefs, not necessarily the beliefs of everybody else. I just want to clarify this. This is what the atheists believe, or that's what Rob believe, and it is fine.
Yes, I can't speak for all atheists. That's what I believe.
And there goes another question. Then, what is the point then to being alive? Just to born, grow, go to school, and died? Get old and died? What is the point to being?
Okay. To be perfectly honest, I don't think there is a point to be alive. And I think that and I have to explain this because people take it the wrong way. I think that that's liberating because you can do whatever you want with your life. And so hopefully, as a person who has realized, I guess, as I have, that there's no point to any of this, you get to choose why you want to be alive. You get to decide what's important to you, what motivates you, what fascinates you, what pushes you forward. And I think that that's enough, honestly. And I think there's enough beauty in that path that you don't really have to add anything else to it for it to be meaningful.
Okay. How this works for other people when you're around other people?
What do you mean?
Yes. Well, with your, like when you were married, when your friends, your job, and your relationships with everybody. Because you have mentioned not everybody understand it.
Okay, so where I work, what I have learned to do is establish my character first. If somebody thinks I'm a good person or a bad person, it's not going to be because I said I was religious or not, or an atheist. And then after that point, if we all feel comfortable with each other, or if they start talking about it first, then okay, I'll say it. I try not to talk about religion or politics at work if I can help it. Especially the religion part. When it comes to that, people can prejudge you. So if you go up to something and the very first thing you say to them is, "I think your belief system's a sham," and that's what they hear. That's the thing, is that when somebody meets an atheist, they're confronted with the embodiment, like the personification of their doubt. So I represent everything that they doubt about their own belief system, and that can be hard for somebody to deal with, and it can be hard for me to be on the other end of. I don't mean anything. I'm just being me. And so if I don't have to bring it up, I don't. But if people want to get into a conversation about it, and if I know that it can be done without anybody's feelings getting hurt, then that's fine. I will. But for the most part, like I said, if somebody has already known me for a while, a year or two, I think they already know enough about me to know that if they find out that that's my belief, they're not going to let it define me.
And you feel like
which is what I'm always afraid of. Sorry.
Then you still feel like you have to hide your beliefs.
A little bit. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm something I'm not, but if I don't need to bring it up, I mean, why bother? I'm not going to lie. You know, I live in Texas. You know, in Texas it's one of the most like heavily Christian parts of the country. It can be hard for someone like me here. I'm just like literally existing. I'm just being me, and I don't mean anything by it, you know. But just being who I am and just believing what I do is enough to really offend some people.
Yes, I can understand totally that, because even myself, that I'm not atheist, that I'm very spiritual, but because I am not part of any religion, in the moment they ask me what religion you are, and I don't have religion, I'm just a spiritual, I get judged. Hey, before in the time in the Inquisition, we will be already burned, both of us. So it doesn't matter if you believe and there is non-existing God, or if you believe actually that you can talk with God without any intermediary. We are gonna be judged either way.
Well, that's good, and actually that brings up another fear that I constantly live with. Is it just seems like a lot of people who get into government, you know, they want to push the idea of certain. Now, people they bring their own belief system to the table, right? And so, and I feel, you know, I feel pretty good about living in a place where pretty much that's not too much of a problem. But there's some people that live in countries, you know, where, I mean, you know, there's parts of the Middle East, for example. You know, if you were to admit that you're an atheist, I mean, you could get killed for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, it's something that sometimes people don't understand, that atheist rights are kind of a big deal, you know, because they can really, really get picked on.
It's not about atheist rights. I believe all human rights in that way. Why? Because again, like people like me, there were many of like me that were very
Mm,
spiritual, just not fit in any square. We don't want to fit in any square of religions, any of them, and it can go really deep our beliefs in something completely contrary of what the religions teach.
well, that's a
Where
good point.
we can get stoned, we can get burned. We used to get burned, you know, it's like in that way. So it's not only one rights; it's about the rights of everybody. Okay, you can see how Muslims right now they're getting in China they're getting in concentration camps, etc. So it's actually the rights of
Mm,
everybody to respect all the beliefs. So like that we can actually have a better world that we have right now. If we respect
right.
all the beliefs that anyone can have, is the right to believe in whatever they want.
That's true. That is an excellent point. That is true. And I'm seeing it just from the atheist point of view, but you're right. I mean, anybody who gets the short end of the stick, and it's not okay.
And well, I have a question for you that you say that you're a professional pessimist. I know where it comes from, but I want you to say it.
Okay. Okay. So, and then this is kind of more in particular toward my writing, but I guess in general, I really do consider myself a pessimist. I think pessimism is an art, and so is complaining, and I love doing it. I know that it's not always appreciated or considered as funny as I think it is, but there's been massive wave of people trying to be very positive, you know, in the last, I don't know, what, 10 years or 15 years or so. I don't know what it is. But I really, really didn't take it too seriously until I thought, I'm going to put this into my writing. I decided to really go with it. Like, you know what? I'm a counterweight to this. I am the opposite of this. Like, I think it's okay. You know, you don't have to be positive. I think it's okay to be negative and be like, yeah, life kind of sucks sometimes. You know what? I'm going to live anyway. I don't care. You know, the weather's hot. I'm still going outside. You know, my job sucks. I'm still going to work. Yeah, you don't have to love everything. You just have to keep going. And I really do kind of I've taken it upon myself to spread this idea through the world.
You even wrote a book. What is the name of the book?
Yeah, Casual Misanthropy.
Yeah. It's actually, it's a little bit comedy. You should look for it. And it's really funny. Well, I want to change a little bit the subject to something that I believe is very important to everybody. Um, well, like I mentioned before at the beginning, Rob and me, we were married, and my point with this was that the majority of the couples, when they get divorced or they're together, they don't want to separate or they don't want to get a divorce because they're afraid to have an enemy. They're afraid to actually let go someone because they're afraid to actually they're going to attack them, and there's a lot of resentment and there's a lot of hatred and wanted to destroy each other. In our case, we learned to be best friends. So Rob is one of my best friends. Like I can say that, and I believe that this is important to actually air it out. If you're not getting along with your couple, you just torture yourself and the other person. And if you have kids, your kids, because you're actually not getting along. And not necessarily you have to destroy each other. And there's no. Uh, I caught myself, in fact, sometimes when he comes and visit our daughter, and saying, "Hey, my friend is coming," because if I say my ex-husband is coming to visit his daughter, everybody will attack me. Oh, are you gonna be tensioned? Are you gonna be mad? Oh, what are you gonna do? And it's like, and it's not that. It's just my friend is visiting his daughter, and that's why it's important for me, and we talk about this, to demonstrate this and to talk about it in live. Well, it's going to be recorded, but so like that people can understand that not because you divorce or separated, you have to be hating your ex-mate, or you have to be enemies and have to destroy it, because yes, there's a lot of peer pressure in this, like you were in high school, but it doesn't has to do it doesn't have to be like that. What did you think about? Oh, and just clarify before you answer that. He's not the husband that used to beat me. He's my
Thank
fourth
you.
marriage. He's my fourth marriage. And when I talk about the one that used to beat me, was the third one, not the fourth one. Okay, just want to clarify that. Okay.
Appreciate you pointing that out. That seems important. Um, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That was a lot. So, you know, do you have any specific
What is
questions about it?
what is your point of view about couples being friends after they are divorced or separated, or
I don't think I'm good at anything relationship-wise. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I want out of I guess, you know, I don't know how to say this. So people, it's in their best interest to get along. It's like, honestly, like I can't speak for other couples, and obviously, but just for myself, I think that the better off you are, happy, safe, comfortable, that's better for our daughter, you know. And it's important to me that it's good for you. Obviously cared about you enough to marry you. Marriage lasted quite a while, and I don't regret any of it. I think both of us grew as people. You know, we became probably better versions of ourselves over time. And I celebrate the progress you've made. And yeah, absolutely. You're one of my best friends. I wouldn't want to lose that.
Yeah, what I see in the people, they're always judging, or they have the program that they have to get married. Before it used to be, if you don't get married after 25, you're never gonna get married. You're too old, and they have the same misconception that if you get separated or divorced, it has to be your enemy, or you have to damage completely the relationship, so you're gonna
Mm.
hate. Yes, there is a process at the beginning when you separated or divorce or whatever the situation is yours, that yes, you have to go through that healing process. Just try to stay away from each other for a while. That's my advice. So like that you don't damage the future relationship, that it can be like a good friendship like we have.
I
It
think
is.
that it's true. It's true. Like it wasn't easy at first. I think that anytime that people first separate, there's a period of mistrust. You don't know what to expect out of the other person, and it takes a while to get over that. I think it takes some rebuilding of trust. So like, okay, if we're not staying together in a marriage anymore, then what does that mean? And it takes a while to, I guess, to understand that, for both of us, I think, that, okay, well, you're not trying to harm me. You don't want, anything bad to happen to me. You're not trying to take anything away from me. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I'm not trying to sabotage you or change things in a negative way in your life or anything. And then so I think that it's important, first of all, it's important not to hurt each other, because I think that a lot of people do. And then they get to the point where you have every right not to trust them. They really mistreated you, or they, And sometimes couples can do terrible things to each other that's hard to come back from.
That's something that I wanted to talk about it, because many of the couples that they separate or before or to separate it have the guts actually to do it. They cheat on each other, or they damage each other in a really horrible way because they wanted to end that relationship and actually end it because they don't have the guts actually to finish it and say no more.
Right.
So they break it completely in several pieces so they actually can do it, or have the guts, or the other person like, yeah, get out of my life and I want the divorce today or yesterday. Why you have to get to that point to destroying a person and destroying it? Because at the same time, when you're trying to destroy someone, you're destroying yourself. And it's like, why? Because you're going to carry that as that guilt and shame and so forth. You're going to be carrying that. Or what are your opinion about that?
No, yes. I mean, the best you can hope for when you're separating from somebody, I think, and again, I have no idea what I'm talking about. This is just speaking from the heart. Like, you want to go forward as allies, or at least as neutral parties. You don't want to go forward like, being upset with each other. And sometimes people will do things, and it's hard to forgive, but if it's no longer in the context of a marriage anyway, fine. I mean, I've had friends that separate and, they don't, maybe they did some things that were kind of ugly in the end or whatever, but if you can still just get over that and say, okay, well, we're not married anymore. Just let's just at least get along, especially if they have children. I mean, it just seems like a good idea. But yeah, if you can not self-sabotage, that's much better. If you can see things ahead and try not to make them worse. It's hard though. It's a tough call. I get it. It's hard for people to get to some kind of breaking point when they know that there's a very good reason to make this decision. I mean, you have a good point. It's sometimes people will do something drastic because they want that to be a punctuation, at the end of the relationship. But I don't think that's necessary.
It can be a punctuation, but without trying to harm each other, because the one is going to be carrying the guilt and the shame and so forth is the person that actually acted worse. And I'm not going to say that I was always perfect. I've been married 4 times. And I'm not going to say that I have the same relationship I have with Rob with my 3 ex-husbands too, because they're not. And it was not always like that. When I was younger and I divorced like the first time I was 21, yes, I tried to destroy him and he tried to destroy me. We attacked in a more horrible way that it took me many years to heal that part. Of course, the second and the third one, that was the one that used to beat me. It took me many years. It took me the 10 years that I was with Rob to forgive him and actually get over that. And but you don't have to get there. That's something that I have learned. Something that I have learned being married so many times, that you don't have to get to destroy the other person or hate the other person. You can still be friends if you separate on time before it gets nasty and horrible. And then you're gonna harm your kids and yourself and the other person and everybody's around
Yeah.
you and everybody else. There's something else that you wanna add to that?
Well, I've only been married once, and uh, I think that I would like to say to people who are newly single, that you don't have to rush into something else right away. Like it's okay to take your time. It's okay to concentrate on yourself as a person and rediscover who you are outside of the context of being with someone else, and just get back to square one. Sometimes that takes a little while, and it can be the least complicated, most productive way to move forward. And I just don't think people give themselves enough of a chance to do that. At least not enough.
Well, Rob, you wanna add something to this conversation about atheism or about relationship before we finish the
Uh,
conversation?
no, I'm fine. I was just here to answer whatever questions you had, and just appreciate the talk. And hope everybody does well and discovers what's best for themselves and conducts themselves as best as they see fit, I guess.
Well, we want to thank you from Soul Talk. It was a conversation heart to heart and soul to soul. There's just the intention of this was actually to help and illuminate other people, and the people can come out a little square they have sometimes about these 2 topics that they were different and more close to Valentine's Day. They were very different, and uh, and I really thank you for listening to us. And I also wanted to invite you for the next Monday, the 22nd. We're gonna have a soul talk with Amber Kentus. I hope I'm not massacring her last name. She's from Missouri and she is amazing. So I hope you can see us at 7 o'clock p.m. and from Soul Talks.